Gotta turn the lights on. Yo, you know what I feel like? I felt like this did. You know what I felt like?
Welcome to episode number 4 of the Hometown Heroes exclusive YouTube video series here on the channel, guys. Welcome. I hope you guys are having a fantastic and a nerdy day. I'm hanging out with my friend, my buddy, my pal, Mr. Lucas Averett. Lucas, how are you, bud?
I'm good. Did you say nerdy day because it's May 4th?
I did. May the 4th be with you, brother.
That's good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You gotta appreciate the Star Wars Day.
Of course, gotta be celebrated. So I believe we have comments.
We do. We got 2 comments, just kind of a little off the wall, and one of the and it's not Casey. No comment from Casey.
He has a challenger.
He has 2 different challenges. First comment comes in from Rain X. He just says, "Good channel, just a fan passing through." Well, thank you, Mr. Rain X. Appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you.
Preach.
And then we got another friend. We got another guy named Call. He said loved it. So he loved the Hometown Heroes episode. We appreciate those, guys. We appreciate those. Thank you for coming in and being sure to give us a couple views there on the YouTube channel. Lucas, there's not a whole lot going on, but we had a couple things happening. Yeah.
'Tis a dry time. But we do have some stuff, all right?
Got a couple things.
So I'm gonna start for the Titans first because, Cowboys got a little bit more going on. Since y'all did just sign a quarterback, and we got some stuff to talk about with that.
We sure do. We sure did.
But, basically, only thing that's happened with the Titans is the 5th-year options came up for Adoree Jackson and Corey Davis.
Nice.
We picked up Adoree Jackson's.
Okay.
He's been, one of the best corners on the team. I would argue, pretty good in the NFL overall.
Yeah.
And then we turned down Corey Davis's option. So I just want to ask you real quick, Jackson. I'm going to get your take on it.
Okay.
His 5th-year option, he was the 5th overall pick in his draft.
Mm-hmm.
His 5th-year option was $15.68 million.
Wow. That's pretty high.
I feel like, and there's a bunch of people that are upset about it. Oh, we didn't pick up his option. And I am here to tell everyone to chill out because that does not mean that we're not going to try to re-sign him.
Yeah.
He's been an excellent team player for us. He blocks down the field all the time. He is part of the culture. He's here for what we want to do, right? Like, we drafted the receiver we needed.
Right.
I do say, I've probably said it on the pod, sometimes I feel like Corey gives up on some routes, maybe gives up on some plays.
Yeah.
But I don't see us not trying to re-sign him still. So I just want to know your take on, like, should we have picked it up or not? And
right.
It's 15.68 against the cap, and Derrick Henry's not even making that much money. So
I was just going to say, I don't think Derrick Henry's going to be making that much money. 15.68 mil. That's Michael Thomas money.
Exactly.
That's up there.
Right.
I don't think he should be getting paid that much. I feel like that's a good thing to. I feel like you kind of get a win-win with this because you don't pick up his option, so you say, hey man, look, this year it's kind of your little prove it year, right?
Right.
Prove it. So if you want 15.68 mil, then you're gonna have to earn it, and we'd love to re-sign you. And maybe we could do it at a little more reasonable number that works best for the team so you can keep as much of that team cohesion together as possible. But yeah, no, I don't think Corey Davis has had enough of a illustrious career to warrant 15.68 mil, much less 14.
He didn't break 1,000 yards last year. Understandable considering AJ came in and had the year he had, and Derrick Henry had the year he had.
Yeah.
And we've had some shaky quarterback play with Corey being here, and when he was the number one, at least now there's another option for us to throw the ball to.
Open up
with
the field.
AJ there. So we'll see what happens. I'm expecting him to have a good year, and I'm expecting us to try and re-sign him, and he's been good, just not Michael Thomas good.
Right. So maybe you could sign him, for like a 3 or 4 year deal after this season for like maybe $9 a year.
I'd be okay with that probably.
8 to 9 a year. So he's still among he's still getting paid really well. Put much of that in guaranteed money, and like you said, he's a great blocker down the field, and I feel like wide receiver blocking has a huge impact on a running back's effectiveness.
If you look at any of the long runs down the field, or even like A.J. Brown taking a slant for 70 yards, like Corey Davis down the field blocking. So other than that, we signed cornerback Jonathan Joseph from the Texans. This man's like 40 gazillion years old. He's a dinosaur, but he's still been playing in the NFL.
Long-time Texan. Yeah.
We signed him to a 1-year deal. And so the sad thing is that probably means we're not going to sign Logan Ryan.
I was just going to ask that. Do you think you're going to be able to get him now?
I would love to, but I guess he's not moving off that $10 million number, and we don't want to pay $10 million for what Logan did. And it looks like this other guy's going to come in. He's going to be able to play Logan's role if he needs to,
Right. You drafted Fulton.
He's at least going to add depth. That's what I was about to say, because we have Fulton in now. And if Fulton shows out like we expect him to, then he can be one of the top 3 corners. And we'll have 3 starting corners and Jonathan Joseph for some depth. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is good. Do you guys still have enough room to get Clowney with the Joseph deal?
We do. I was about to say, so I don't know. 1 second, I'm hearing reports that the Seahawks are out on Clowney. I know earlier the week, a player on the Seahawks came out and said that he was getting his number 90 back. That's the number that Clowney has. And I'm hearing that the Titans have signed him and that he's basically on the team. We're just waiting for a physical to come through. But then the next second, I'm hearing that the Titans, the Jets, and the Seattle Seahawks are all still in on Clowney. So we'll see what happens.
Who knows? Yeah, we thought he was going to be a Titan in ink, last week.
I was thinking, well, the report came out, from the same guy that reported the Jameis Winston deal, came out and said we were just waiting for the comp picks to come out.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Once we got by that deadline, we'd pick up Clowney. But I mean, if we're waiting on a physical to announce it, I totally understand. So hopefully we signed it. We're waiting on a physical. He passes physical. We're good to go. Get him on a 1-year prove-it deal, I think, would be amazing. He'd probably have one of the better years he's ever had, considering now we've got some other presence on the defensive line.
Absolutely.
On the edge rush. So that's pretty much it for us, buddy. It's a little dry.
Little dry week, but we did have one kind of splash in the pool coming in for this week, and it has to do with the Cowboys. So Dallas Cowboys have officially signed. I'm sorry? What?
I said always. But
always.
I need to say, your boy always finds a way for the Cowboys to stay relevant. Even when there is nothing happening in the NFL at all, always finds a way to be the talk of ESPN for the week.
I'm telling you, man.
The Cowboys are always there.
That's just what America's team does. Okay, it's what we do. It's what goes on. It's what's happening. Huh? Nothing? Okay, cool. Bet. All right, so we have signed somebody. You might have heard of him. I'm not sure. We signed Andy Dalton, and I know we talked about this in the Go for Two podcast last week. Y'all be sure to check that out. We also do that. I mean, that's kind of our main thing. But we thought Andy Dalton might be going to maybe Chicago or New England or maybe some other places like maybe LA, just kind of as a wild card or something. But he ends up in Dallas. So we signed him to, I think it's a 1-year deal for $7 million. But here's the thing. I know some people were kind of criticizing us like, okay, does that $7 million really make a lot of sense when Jameis Winston signed a $1 million deal? Oh, my Lord. Excuse me. Okay. I don't know you. Random number. Does that make a lot of sense signing him to a $7 million deal when you can have Jameis Winston sign a $1 million deal? And the thing is, we structured his deal so that he's going to earn base $3 million. And the rest of his $4 million comes in as incentives. So if he has to come in and play, if he's a backup in the playoffs or certain further games, he could get that extra $4. We had already had, and as a result of that, we'd had a full quarterback room. So we just released our longtime backup for 3 years, Cooper Rush. So we waived him. So he has enough time now to go out and find another backup job or a quarterback 3 spot if he so wants to do that. But he was making $3 million this year too. So we essentially upgraded Cooper Rush to Andy Dalton for the same amount of base money. And the only reason if it'll get up to 7 against the cap is if off those incentives to where Andy Dalton plays or we make the playoffs or go far deep in the playoffs. So,
Right.
Heck of a backup option. I think we have one of the best quarterback rooms in the league now. I feel a lot better if Dak was to go down. I have a lot more faith in Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, grew up here in Texas. He actually has a house here in Frisco, right? So he didn't even have to move. He's here in the summers anyway. And went to TCU, right? So, I mean, that's just down the street from me. And, excuse me. So, longtime Texan. Good to have him back. I like Andy Dalton, as a person or whatever. I don't think it was working out for him in Cincinnati. He needed a change and a fresh start. And actually, I think, what do you think about this, Lucas? I actually have a question for you. Do you think that signing Andy Dalton sends a message or a signal to Dak Prescott at all?
So I think to Dak it doesn't send a message. I don't know if y'all were trying to send a message or whatever, but I don't think Dak really cares.
Okay.
Here's my question for you, because I wrote this down before because I wanted to ask you.
All right.
Because I love bringing up these little scenarios. So we already know Dak has held out from online training camp or whatever, right?
Yeah, he hasn't signed his tag yet.
Hasn't signed his tag yet. If he keeps holding out, let's say the season gets close, it's almost preseason. He's holding out. If he starts threatening to miss games, do you trade away Dak Prescott and see how Andy Dalton does this year, and then just hopefully he does good? Because I do want to say that I think Andy Dalton's a good quarterback.
I think so too.
I wouldn't say he's elite.
He's not elite, and I wouldn't even put him top 15.
He played with a bad team in Cincinnati, and he never complained. He was always a franchise guy there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's been to the playoffs, and he's got experience. So.
And he's shown when he has a good wide receiver like AJ Green that he could put up numbers and take his team to the playoffs. Right? He did that in Cincinnati with not a very good supporting cast,
exactly.
With not a very good coach. So.
Yeah, so bad, they're one of those teams I've talked about, some teams just have bad management and they're just bad from top to bottom. Redskins, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Have had, Jacksonville's had one winning season in the past 10 years or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I just want to know your thoughts on that. If Dak is threatening to hold out of real games, do you just trade him, get a haul? Because you would get a haul for Dak.
We'd get a haul for Dak for sure. I think what this does is gives options, because the way, from my understanding, and I could be wrong. If you guys know more or know better, please leave it in the comments and let me know. But from my understanding, Dak has until July 15th to sign his tag. Right? So if he signs his tag on July 15th, he's guaranteed that same amount of tag money, which is, I think right now is 33 or 34 million for this year. And maybe it's 36, but he's guaranteed that money for this year, and we have to then renegotiate for a long-term deal. It buys us time, essentially. If he doesn't sign this tag by July 15th, then he's not guaranteed any of that money, and so essentially he'll just end up sitting out for a year, a la Le'Veon Bell, right? Only difference coming in from Le'Veon is I think he signed his tag, but he voided his money by not showing up. Right?
Okay.
So Le'Veon's you signed your tag and you're going to get your money. You're going to lose money every week you don't show up, but it's all voided if you don't show up. I think it's week 7 if you don't report.
Like Melvin Gordon, because Melvin Gordon ended up coming.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon came back, and so he was able to recoup some of his money. Mm-hmm. But Dak wouldn't get his money. You lose that week's salary, I think, every time. But if you don't come back by the 7th, it's cut off, it's voided, you don't get any of your cash. So he has a choice to make. By July 15th, that's the deadline. Do I sign? If he doesn't sign it, then he goes on the last year of his contract, and if he shows up or doesn't show up, it's just kind of up to him. Ultimately, I think if he doesn't sign by July 15th, we trade him. I think that's kind of what happens. I think because if he's not going to sign it and he's not going to play, he can't renegotiate until after the season at that point. So if he's not going to sign, he's not going to play, then why have him? But the thing then just becomes, is his trade going to be worth more before he signs, before that July 15th date? Because what teams could do is they could wait till he's a free agent next year and just all go for him. You know what I mean? And see what happens then. So a lot's going to happen in the next couple months. But
I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say I like having Andy Dalton there because if we do end up, if we have Dak, that's great. That's fantastic. If we can find him at a reasonable number, get him back on the team. I know. I love our QB1 and QB2. We also have Ben DiNucci, who is just like, our sixth round pick that we have, kind of a developmental person. Mike McCarthy always likes having a solid QB1, a decent QB2, and then a developmental guy. That's kind of how he likes to have his quarterback room. So, and we'll see if he develops into anything, I don't know. It's a kind of a wild shot in the dark there. But having Dalton makes me feel better because in case something bad does happen with Dak, I feel like we can still potentially make the playoffs. As opposed to if we had to go with Cooper Rush, then the chances of us making the playoffs are very, very low. We know how important the quarterback position is. And I kind of think it did send a little bit of a message to Dak saying, hey, we're still going to be good to go this season. We got a Texas native. We got a guy that's familiar with the area. He could come in and learn offense quickly. He's a veteran. So if you're not going to sign and be on board and be with his team, then all right. Sad to see you go, but deuces. You know what I mean?
Deuces, gooses. It would also help you build a better team.
Yeah, but you asked the question, should we trade him? Yes. If he doesn't sign it by the deadline, yes, we should trade him and get a haul for him.
Yeah, so my argument for the trade is that, because you asked why would teams want to trade for him and not just pick him up later. And I think, number one, you don't want to get into a bidding war with these other teams.
Agreed.
Especially these quarterback-thirsty organizations that really want a guy and are willing to spend whatever they need to get a guy. And I think also, you can probably get him cheaper if you trade for him. You get a little more leverage, like, hey, we wanted you here, stuff like that,
For sure. We were willing to give up stuff for you.
Yeah, we gave up stuff for you. And so we'll see what happens. With the way teams are in this league, they fall in love with a player, they do anything to get him.
Yeah, for sure.
And you'd have a better team in the long run. Your team would be better. You would have been able to keep Byron Jones.
That's the only thing that kind of stinks about it is because we've already gone through the free agency market, and had we not had Dak's franchise tag be the amount that it is, and we'd had the extra cap room, I think we go after Jadeveon Clowney. I think we keep Byron Jones. We probably sign Andy Dalton anyway, right? Maybe we don't go after Clowney. Maybe we go after some cheaper option and go and just kind of load our stuff with veterans. Maybe we grab a veteran minimum deal with Clay Matthews. Maybe we're able to spend a little bit more and go out and get Everson Griffin, right? The longtime Viking. He's pretty much a dinosaur too, but he's provides kind of that stable pass rush as well. And just kind of sprinkle bits of depth across our team. Maybe go out and trade and get a really good center or something. I don't know. There's a lot of different options that we could do. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we come to a reasonable solution. If not, I definitely feel a lot better today knowing we have Dalton backing us up as opposed to dude, if Dak doesn't sign this, we're kind of we're in trouble.
If Tannehill goes down, I'm stuck with, I don't really know his name. We drafted a guy from Hawaii. His name's Cole McDonald. I can't remember the other guy. We've had a developmental guy in there on the practice squad for a while, but we'll see what happens, Jackson. He's got to sign it eventually. I think it gives you more leverage, but I think from a team's perspective, it gives you more leverage. Mm-hmm. But I feel like to Dak himself, he's just
well, he knows if he signs it,
I'm still going to get mine.
Yeah, if he knows if he signs it, he's QB1, and he knows that if he doesn't sign it and goes to the team, he's QB1. He's going to get his deal. He knows he's going to get a deal somewhere.
Even if he signs it, he can sign it and still hold out. and then just come back halfway through the year. But by then, Andy Dalton will be undefeated, and because that's what happens to these players,
Andy Dalton's resurgence of his career.
And it's all because like Dak Prescott couldn't take in his own head a pay cut, and to us couldn't take an overpay contract and look at it and say, hey, this is a good deal for him. Instead,
and what happens to players who sit out, man? They don't come back the same.
Nose ring Zeke, different beast.
Nose ring Zeke is a different beast. I mean,
Melvin Gordon is a backup halfback now.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell is unwanted by his team.
He went from being considered the best running back in the league in like 2017 to, I mean, the Jets don't even want him. You know what I'm saying? The Jets don't want you, bro. Like, that's what happens to people that sit out, man. And like, you kind of lose that rhythm, and like, you can have an argument. It's like, oh, well, my body's a little more refreshed. I'm more healthy. I'm recovered. But you also miss an entire year's worth of practice and training camp and film study and growth and development. Like, you have to like restart. You have to, new coach. You have to restart the engine. And it's going to take a while to get back to where you were in full form. Like, playing at full speed in the NFL that's why they have preseason games, because it takes a second to get back going.
Yep. And just remember, this ain't McCarthy's quarterback. He didn't bring Dak in.
No. Hashtag tank for Tua. Or not Tua, tank for for Trevor. Tank for Lawrence.
Or Justin Fields, he's good. I mean,
that's pretty much everything that's going on with Hometown Heroes, man.
That's all we got, man. It's short episode. It's still a good time though.
Still a great time. So guys. Thanks for listening and watching. Remember, this is exclusively on YouTube, right? So you can only find this on the channel. So be sure you like and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. We bring all the Cowboys and Titans news throughout the week, right? Even when there's not a whole lot of stuff going on here, we had a little splash, a little nugget with the Andy Dalton signing. So we'll see what's happening. I know that the schedule should be released soon. Maybe we'll talk about that next week a little bit. And we'll just kind of keep going from there. But anyway, that's all we got, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We love you. Bye.